Okay, so if you knew me a couple of years ago, you might know that I used to be really self-centered. I mean, we're all pretty selfish, but I was on a completely different level. Every morning, I woke up and did everything from the second that the sun rose to the second that my head hit the pillow for myself. And this became a huge problem socially because nobody could trust me with anything. We all know that one chatterbox in the grade who we just don't tell anything, knowing that if we should, the entire grade would know within a day. I was no different. But my problem was that I wasn't only selfish to classmates, I was selfish to friends. I would ruin their relationships or hurt their feelings to make my own life better. And my own life never got better because slowly people realized that they just didn't want to be around me. I had a couple of friends who really stuck with me and made sure that I found empathy, but in general, my selfishness was a really strong force to reckon with. And the problem was the same at home. My family eventually got tired of talking to me because I would always comment excessively mean things or try to interject something before the end of the conversation. And in a way, this might sound really familiar. I was really immature. But my selfishness wasn't only due to a lack of knowledge or experience. I mean, even at a young age, I was pretty well educated, and I knew a decent amount about the world. No, my selfishness was due to my lack of empathy. And this is what I want to talk about today. Back then, I lived solely for myself. What do we live for? What do we wake up to do every day? And how should our answer to this question change the way that we act? Now, this problem originally came up at the dinner table because we sat down, we started eating, and my sister asked me whether I'd ever contemplated my own existence. To be perfectly fair, this is kind of something deep for the dinner table, but personally I was very relieved. It was a thought that had passed through my head every now and then. I didn't really have an answer for her. I just thought it was one of those unanswerable questions that we humans are just supposed to ask. Now, some people might say, why question our existence at all? And an old Greek dude once said that life without philosophy isn't worth living. Now, this old Greek dude was Socrates, and he's depicted here waving his finger around. Socrates was put to death by his own people, the people of Athens, because the people of Athens decided that he was corrupting the minds of their children with his philosophy. So they presented him with a choice. Leave Athens, be exiled and never philosophize again, or choose to die. The choice may seem very simple to you and I, but Socrates clearly thought differently, and that's why this is a depiction of his last moments. To be perfectly honest, I researched Socrates and a bunch of other people, like him, philosophers, when I looked to the past for my answers. But it's really motivational to find out that a lot of people much smarter than you have been asking the same question that you are asking right now for a long time and still not come up with an answer. Which is why I looked for a more modern answer that I could shape to make my own. And this came from science for me. Now, in science, one of the big theories is called the theory of equilibrium. And this handsome man right here came up with it, Lord Kelvin. Now, we can imagine equilibrium like a glass of cold water in a hot room. Eventually, the temperature of the glass and the temperature of the room will become the same. The universe is very much like this. The universe keeps expanding and expanding and expanding, but one day, it'll stop expanding. And at that point, everything should stand still. This is where it gets interesting, because time is supposed to be the measure of change. If nothing changes in the universe at all, then time should technically stand still. The point of equilibrium, though, is the fact that we are all just small cogs in a large machine that will eventually stop whirring. And one of the very few things that we have an impact on is this very planet that we stand on right now. So choose your time wisely. Now that I'm done with the happy part of my speech, we can move on to the more realistic part. After years and years of being selfish, I slowly found a little bit of sensitivity. It wasn't like one morning I woke up and said, ooh, I found empathy. But over a long period of time, I realized that making other people happy out of kindness was far better than making myself happy out of selfishness. And today, I live for the people around me. I live for my friends, for my family, for the people I see on the street, and when I'm still feeling selfish, for myself. If tomorrow I were to wake up and say, I dedicate my life to my neighbor, then that would become my reason for existence. We have complete free will over our own meaning, which is why we have the responsibility to choose well. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to start devoting my life to my neighbor, but the very few things in this universe capable of caring about anything are on this rotating blue orb, which is why we should take time to care for ourselves and the people around us. Thank you.